Okay, here we go. So it's 7 o'clock. There we go. We got some. Yeah, we'll read the
Wasn't sure you could come.
call a meeting to order and have a pledge of allegiance for all of us present here.
Okay.
Which one to do? Pledge of
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America,
And to the republic for which it stands,
one nation,
under God,
indivisible,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Go.
So we got a roll call of members. We've got myself, the chair is Tom McLaughlin. We have David Kent as the vice chair. I don't see Butch Cushing. He's not on the screen either. So we have Stephanie Halter and Patrice Scott.
Here.
June Hammond is here to help us out. June Hammond Rowan. And Juliet's not here. Okay, so a review of the April the 1st ZBA minutes. Did anybody get a chance? Everybody get a chance to read them?
I'll have to abstain, Mr. Chairman, because I wasn't
Okay.
here.
Stephanie,
I read them. Yep.
you make a motion?
Oh, sure. I'll motion to accept the minutes.
Okay, and David? David seconds it. All those in favor? Aye. Great. Okay. Communication received by the board. Do we have any, well, we got Patrice's letter from last month. And what would you like to do that? You want to discuss this or? I mean, I don't think anybody's arguing the content of that.
No, I was happy to just write it. I felt, because I
Did that
couldn't be
lead to this
present.
protocols? Is that, no, this was just, okay. Okay, and I won't go on the protocols. Anybody have any questions about Patrice's letter? David, are you looking for the volume there?
I'm good.
There you go.
You're good?
Now we can hear you.
Okay. Okay, so, okay, the next thing is we got a request for a special exception from Article 3, Section 304 of the zoning ordinance to construct a child care center within the facility currently existing at 742 Tenny Mountain Highway. Excuse me, PID 213030. And do we have somebody here? Yes, we do. Mr. Solomon?
Yes, hello, myself and Bob McLeod is also here.
Yep, and Audrey as well.
Oh, great. Well, can you give
Mr.
us a little
Chairman.
bit of a sketch?
Mr. Chairman, I'm sorry, Audrey, last name, I'm sorry.
Yes, Audrey Gowdy, Gaudie. Thank you.
Thank you.
So Mr. Solomon is the architect and you are the principal?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And
Not-
would it be helpful for me to give you just a brief overview of what we're doing?
Do that, please.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. I'm the CEO of Midstate Health Center, and for several years, we've had a very small child care center. We call it our Children's Learning Center, and it was co-located at our Boulder Point location. And we moved it off to a rental site about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, so that we could accommodate additional medical services at Boulder Point. We always knew that that was a temporary location and we wanted to build something permanently. We did a feasibility study and we realized that there's a deficit of good childcare centers in the area, and that we have an opportunity to build something that we think will be great for the community. The structure will house approximately 60 children, ranging from infancy to preschool. And this is a big leap for us and a big leap for the community because currently we have about 20 children. I want to add that during the pandemic, during the last 12 months, we did not close our learning center at all, and we kept it open for the parents who needed to work. So that is a very brief sketch of where we were and what we're trying to accomplish over the next several months. And if you would allow me, I'll turn it over to Chris Solomon to go over the details.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you. I have the plans. Would you like, if I could, I'll share my screen and we can just go through the site plan.
That's great. Yeah.
All right. Just need the host to allow that. Share, there we go. All right. So I'll scan down to the, just for a brief overview of the site plan. I'm sure you guys are all familiar with, as you go out Tenny Mountain Highway, what we're proposing is renovating the existing, there's an existing furniture store on the north side of the highway, just before the traffic circle, across from the landscape facility. So that existing facility has an existing curb cut, an existing parking, and what we're proposing is really to reuse all of the existing facility. As you come off the road, off of Route 25, you pull into the parking lot. There's an existing parking area located adjacent to the main entry to the building. Zoom in here. So that existing parking lot is going to remain. We're going to be resurfacing the parking lot and patching some areas that need to be rebuilt. We have existing parking spaces here. We're going to be adding a new sidewalk along the curb. Right now, as you pull in and park, there is no sidewalk. With knowing that we're going to be having parents and children here, we wanted to provide a safe walking path for them. So we're adding a sidewalk and a granite curb along the edge of the entranceway. We'll maintain the existing entranceway. We're going to have a new covered entry there to protect from winter elements and snow and ice. We are going to be dealing with the existing water runoff on the site. And then as you move out back, that existing parking lot is going to remain. And then there is an area here where we have a loading dock that we're going to be leveling off. That loading dock actually ramps down to a structure here off the back of the building. And then there's a portion of the rear of the building that we're going to be removing some of the pavement to have a playground for children. That would have a 3-foot fence around that for safety. And then again, we're wrapping that sidewalk around the back of the building. So overall, the existing building is going to be reused. Exterior improvements include, we're going to be re-siding and re-roofing the building completely with new windows and fenestration. Interior improvements, we're going to be renovating essentially the entire inside of the building to meet the needs of the educational spaces. Keeping much of the existing structure in place. It's a truss roof with stud-built walls, so that all stays in place. On the site we are adding new lighting around the building for safety, so site lighting, as well as some light poles around the back of the parking lot, which we've also submitted these plans to the planning board for their review in terms of foot candles and such. We do understand that we're going to be having some traffic here. And what we've done is based on the existing numbers in terms of traffic flow, and then projected that and multiplied that to the new student population. So we have 13 parking spaces up against the building here, with a total of 38 parking spaces on the site. They're proposing is to have roughly 12 faculty members or employees of the facility that would be parking off the rear. Pickup and drop off times, we're estimating roughly 40 parents, because out of those 60 children, some of those parents have more than one kid. So they'd be coming to the site. Pickup times is between 7 a.m. and 9, drop off 7 and 9, and pickup is between 3:30 and 5:30. Right now, it takes roughly 5 minutes to drop off a student at the daycare facility. So, and they have an average of, they're projecting 2 cars at any given time. And that times could get up towards 10 minutes max, depending on the age of the child. But we don't see any really increased traffic flow coming and going that wouldn't be similar to what the existing furniture store would have during normal business hours, because those pickup and drop off times are kind of staggered throughout that 2-hour block of parents coming and going. So they would be, the majority of those parents would be using these parking spaces, and we do have ADA parking. Utilities, we are, the building is currently connected to the town sewer facilities. There's an existing well off the backside of the property, which you have to have an easement from a neighboring property that we're going to be using for drinking water. So we're not taxing the town's drinking water at all. That would be providing public drinking water to the building. So we'll meet those state standards for filtration. Existing utilities coming into the building is electrical. We have a 400 amp panel currently, and that's going to be remaining. So those utilities would essentially stay in place. We are going to be scoping and, if needed, rebuilding any of this line that goes out to the road. So that's really an overview of the project. I can go through the special exemptions questions that you have, but before I do that, I don't know if anybody has any questions on the site itself.
I just want to make a little statement that I should make you aware that there's only 4 members. Usually we have 5.
Mhm.
And so you have a choice of putting this off and hoping that next month we could get 5 members. Or you can waive that and go ahead with the 4. But it can be hard if we were to get tied 2-2, you see.
Could you tip your hat as to whether or not this was going to be?
I don't think it's a
favorable?
troublemaker. I don't think you're a troublemaker project here at all. It's just good looking stuff.
Yeah.
That's just my opinion, and it's
Good
your
to know.
choice.
So that brings up kind of a key point for us is the existing child care facility is located in another building, and they are looking for us to vacate that early fall. So time is of the essence. We're looking to move this project along efficiently, and so I think we'd prefer to keep moving ahead tonight.
Okay, thank you.
We can be starting construction this summer.
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question? Hi there. I'm just wondering, this is an already existing childcare center with 20 people. Is this only for people who work at Midstate, or are you expanding it to include public members? Or is it always been for the public?
It has always been for the public. When it was opened up first in 2007, the thought process was it would be great for recruitment for Midstate. But over the past several years, we really found that the majority of people using this learning center are not Midstate employees. The vast majority are community members. And what we also found was that on any given day, we always had a 10 parent wait list to get in for these services. And so we thought once when we conducted the feasibility study, we thought that a number of children we could serve would be about 60. We don't believe we could do much more than that, because some of the limiting factors we're going to face, one in particular, is that there is a shortage of people wanting to work in this industry of childcare. So that might be one of our limiting factors moving forward, but we do fully believe we can staff it to accommodate the 60 children.
I have a question.
Thank you.
Yeah, David.
Is the driveway sufficient for cars to pass in both directions?
Yes, the existing drive has the ability for cars to pull in, and then as well as be waiting and pulling out. So there's double lanes there.
Thank you.
Is there anything gonna have to be done with DOT out on, we're not gonna get another stoplight here, are we?
No, and that's not the plan. And going through the numbers in terms of the frequency of car traffic is we're really not going to be increasing the traffic coming and going from what you would have on a, say, 7 a.m. people aren't furniture shopping, but from a normal time of day, people coming and going from other businesses on that road, as well as during operational hours of the furniture store. So that existing infrastructure is in place, and it's sufficient to handle the parent pickup and drop off.
Thank you.
We
Any
also
other
have,
questions? Yeah.
in the parking lot as you come in, there's parking spaces immediately when you come into the site on the left, and then also say if those are full, you can keep driving, and it's a loop drive, so you can loop around and come back out. We've also maintained so that there's enough distance at the rear of the car, so when you pull out, you've got enough space to back out of those parking spaces safely, and then exit the property.
Any other questions?
I think I'm good.
Have the
David?
neighbors said anything about this proposal?
We did, I can,
Have the neighbors said anything about this proposal?
want me to answer that, Tom?
Sure. Oh,
We have not received any comments that I'm aware of about this, so for or against, we haven't received anything.
Thank you.
okay. Great. Okay, with that, we'll close the public hearing. Any other questions?
First, we have to open it.
No, well,
Did we want to go through the applications for special exemption, that kind of list, or did you guys read the narrative and that was sufficient?
what would you like to do? Would you like to have them go through the list?
I don't think he needs to go through the list. I think we have all the paperwork. I believe all the members have read that. But I just have one question. One just came up as you were speaking. I'm sorry if I missed, is the furniture store still operating while this is going on, with the childcare center there?
Well, no, right now it's a furniture store. Our childcare center is temporarily located on Fairgrounds Road. So
Okay.
this is all furniture store right at the moment, but the owner of the furniture store, when we close on the building, will be moving to another location on Tenny Mountain.
I see. Okay, so you plan to own the building? Is that?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, that's what I wasn't sure about, the signatures of who actually owned it.
Okay.
Okay.
Frank Webster, do you have anything to say?
Public comments?
Yeah, there you go.
You want to open the public hearing first?
We're gonna close the public hearing?
You gotta
Yeah,
open
open
it
it.
first.
Yeah.
Didn't open.
okay. So with that, we'll open the public hearing. We have Frank Webster from.
Frank Miller of
Frank Miller.
Plymouth, and I stand in support of this application. I believe that it's a definite plus to our business community, especially Tenny Mountain Corridor. And I believe it complies with the intent of the master plan, it'd be page 44, item 6, paragraphs A and B specifically, that speak directly to this type of use and the application's compliance with the intent and purpose of our master plan. So again, I think it's a
Thank you. Frank.
approval.
Anybody else want to make a statement? Pro or con? So with that, we'll close the public hearing. And now we'll deliberate.
Tom, can I ask one question? Just about the playground. Do you think the playground is sufficient size for that many kids, for 60 kids? I just remember at your old facility, so I had been there as a parent picking up other people's children at times. And the playground you had was pretty small for even the 20 kids you had. Is this playground going to be bigger?
I can answer that. Yeah, so there are state guidelines in terms of the size per pupil that is required for playground space. And we've reviewed all that, and I forget the exact number if it's 2 times the size, but it's close to that. So there's going to be ample space for that.
So it's almost twice the size the state requires.
Yeah, and I don't remember the exact amount since we did go through that in our code review, but it's more than what the state guidelines are stating is required for playground space.
Thank you.
What kind of fence are you going to have around the playground space? Because I noticed on the plans it said you were going to have a fence. Is it just a chain link fence, or is it going to be like that wooden fence you had at the Mid-State facility?
Yeah, so currently we haven't gotten into kind of selecting the final fence, but it would be say like a 3-foot or 42-inch tall fence around the site that would be, if it is chain link, with the plastic baffles in it to kind of dress it up. But it does have to be, and that's also part of the state guidelines, is you do have to have it as a fenced in secured space.
Yeah, the last facility was like really tall. It was like a
Stockade fence.
yeah, very, very tall. It was taller than stockade, I think.
Yeah.
If I can
Well,
ask,
that's is
what is
we
going to
do want
happen
to
to
make
the
sure.
current facility?
David?
What's going to happen to the current facility?
That's an existing church, and the church is going to be taking over their space again.
Okay.
So it's like function space and classroom space for them, and they've asked that they want to repurpose that for their own use.
Thank you.
Great. Anybody got any other questions? So do we need a finding of facts for the special exception or what? Yeah,
Make some findings.
what have we got for findings?
I would say the proposed site sits in 2 zones, the industrial, commercial, and the ag zone, very small portion in the ag zone.
And ag zone, huh? Great.
Let's say the proposed site seems to have sufficient parking for their needs.
Okay,
Do people agree on that, David? You do?
yeah,
Okay.
we all agree on that?
Yeah. I was just wondering if you felt that was sufficient with the 60 kids, but the way you have it, the hours picking up and delivering,
Yeah,
you
drop
feel
off.
that's sufficient and you won't have a need for having everybody there at one time?
Yeah, I was looking at the current traffic patterns. Is right now there's only right now there's honestly only 2 parents that cross as they come. So it's fairly staggered. You know, it's a consistent flow over that 2 hours, but it's basing it on the current traffic patterns. It hasn't been an issue at all.
Okay. Yeah, I would agree with that, Stephanie.
That the site is of adequate size.
Yeah,
Site is of adequate size and parking is appropriate for its use, proposed use.
I think there'll be no negative impact on the neighbors.
Okay, no negative impact.
and I think with the drop off with the, something about the walkway, maybe, that just that they're putting in the walkway there for the sidewalk. That seems like it's going to be a nice addition, like a real safety feature.
Right. And the site includes a 5,200 square foot fenced playground.
Yeah,
And they're going to bring some jobs. There's going to be additional jobs there. I think that he talked about having a good dozen employees.
and I would also add to that it's going to serve a huge need in our community, right? I think
Right.
the
Okay.
whole
Yeah.
village.
Childcare.
Childcare center closed down.
So it's
since the
providing-
was closed.
Providing a vital service and will be an employer.
Right. I know we have to make some, I don't know if we should make findings, or I know we have to make some conditions about, we didn't speak, but it's in your application. You have a freestanding sign that appears in the front setback, so we would want that to be make a condition that that be within the zoning restrictions.
No, wait, so they get, go ahead, June.
So I noted that in the staff report, which maybe I should have spoken up about, but the sign that they have is actually, looks like it's over the property line. It's like half on their property and half in the Tenny Mountain Highway right of way for some reason. Obviously, when I put there the existing sign, it was missed, in terms of the setback. So in this change, it should be brought back into conformance. It's something the planning board would address also when they really look at the layout of the site, but
So you'd like to see the sign brought into compliance? Is that what you're saying?
yeah, put on the property with the proper setbacks,
Okay.
which we'd have to look at. Just saying, just a statement that it needs to conform with the zoning ordinance would be.
Right, so that's what I'm saying. At the end, we have conditions, or we can list that as a condition, or just state that
Well,
the
let's not
sign.
talk about what other conditions you have.
Yeah, well, there's also in the setback, the dumpsters. So they're within the 15
saw
rear
that.
setback. So they would have to be in compliance. So maybe we should make the finding that the freestanding sign is currently over the
not
property
compli-
line
non-compliant.
and not in compliance. The second one would be the dumpster is currently encroaching in the setback area. It's not in compliance. And then the water and sewer site, there's an easement to, I guess that should be a finding. There's an easement for the use of a private well.
Existing easement.
Yeah, an existing easement, which they believe will properly service their needs, but it has to be,
Go ahead, why are we listing that as a condition?
oh, that's not a
Is it not-
condition. That's just a finding of fact. There's. an
Oh, I
easement in
see,
place.
okay.
Okay, but for the use by the public, it's on a private land that the DES will have to register it as a public water supply.
Oh.
Okay, so that would be the conditioned
Easement.
that the
Water.
DES approves.
Can I just,
I have a
want me to
question.
add- Tom, do you want me to explain that a bit?
Go ahead.
So currently the well is off-site and it's, while they have an easement, as they've explained, it's a private well, given the amount of use that the site currently receives. But I did check with the state, so going to this higher level of people there will trigger it to become a public water supply. So the state will have to register it and they have to go through, I'm not quite sure what that whole
Sure.
process is. So
And monitoring and all that.
yeah, but, and also, there was a concern if that well might not, they'll have to look at the floodplain, the height of the well and location in terms of, but that's part of the state certification to make sure it's out
Sure.
of the floodplain.
They
area.
actually have water, do they have water out in the street?
No, they do not. Town water does not go that far.
Oh,
It cuts
Oh,
off.
just
on
the
Yet-
sewer.
or- Yeah,
Oh,
on
I
Yetton, yeah.
Oh,
Or
wow.
excuse it, ends about Wilson Tire, I think.
okay.
I have a question.
They have, yeah, they can't run the water system unless they chose
Really?
to.
Did you say, Stephanie, that the college is closing their childcare center?
Oh, the whole village did. The whole
Oh.
village did. So which served actually a lot of kids from the homeless shelter. So yeah, and just a lot of people in general. Yeah, the whole village.
I think a finding should be the demand will increase based on a closing of a facility. And so this becomes necessary in the community.
The demand will increase because they're closing their facility?
The
Demand
whole
for
the whole
childcare.
village closed. And
Oh.
there's really no infant care in our community, right? There's no infant care because the Child Development Center at the college, they don't take infants. So this is one of the only programs, their program that takes infants.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
Only program with
So
infant.
we'll fulfill a desperate or urgent need in the community.
Yeah, it's a
Only
big.
program does infant care, huh?
Mhm.
This is it.
Well,
This is it, yeah, for infant
That's it.
care.
And
well, we have quite a few here. Where
Right.
you get them from the tape? huh?
the last one I have, Mr. Chairman, is just the abutters. Abutters have all received notice and we have no objections.
Yes, I think that,
Did we say that?
yeah,
Okay.
okay.
Tom, I have one too.
Yep, go ahead.
This is an appropriate repurposing of an existing structure.
That's true.
Okay. Appropriate
Okay.
Okay, let me get those.
Yeah, now we need
We got to vote on the
criteria.
criteria here. Here we are. Okay. Oh, who put this in such teeny font?
Would you like me to read it, Tom?
Yeah. The proposed use, I'll make it. The proposed uses shall be the only allowed in the only ones allowed in this ordinance by special exception. Special exception. Is that true?
True.
We all agree? Yep.
And I would cite per Article 3, Section 304, page 16 of our ordinance.
Just like what Frank was talking about. The specific site is an appropriate location and of adequate size for the use.
True.
True. And we could note that the gross building size is 17,582 square feet. Finished is 8,400 square feet.
The use is developed will not adversely affect the character of the area in which the proposed use will be located.
True.
Say that's true.
Or,
And
okay,
and note that it's in 2 zones, the ICD and the ag zone.
there will be no nuisance or serious hazard to vehicles or pedestrians.
True.
I'd say that's true, considering the sidewalk features and reduced parking that they've arranged in the site.
The use will not place excessive burden or excessive or undue burden on town services or facilities.
True.
True.
I would say that's true, citing as long as the water supply is confirmed.
That's true. Let's face it. Taking care of the kids is always going to be a burden, and I'm glad they're helping people with that. There would be no significant effect resulting from such use upon the public health, safety, and general welfare of the neighborhood in which the use would be located.
True.
I think there will be a significant effect and it'll be positive.
A positive.
I think
agree
that's
totally.
true. And cite the need for childcare in the community.
Okay. Okay. Such additional, okay. Lighting signs. Okay, so then we have these 7
We have conditions.
listed conditions,
Right,
and these are listed right here.
right.
Okay, does anybody want to make a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would move that we approve the special exception with the conditions as listed in our staff report. And those are basically the approval of the water supply, registration with DES of the water supply, the compliance with the zoning ordinance of the dumpster and the freestanding sign, and that the proposed fence, whatever fence ends up being erected, shall conform to the zoning ordinance. Those are the conditions that we were recommended to make by the staff, and I would include them in the motion.
Okay. And how do we vote on that? Who's in favor? Well, go ahead, David.
I'd like to ask the proponent if he has any difficulty with any of the conditions.
Yeah,
No,
go
we do
ahead,
not.
sir.
We do not.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll make a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
I,
Did we get a second, Tom?
Yeah, I want a second on that.
I'll second
Stephanie,
that.
Stephanie, I
Stephanie.
thought so. Stephanie, second.
And I,
Okay, aye.
Aye, great.
Aye.
All 4 of us. It's unanimous. What a nice idea. Thank you for bringing it.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank
I
you,
have one
everyone.
Final question, if I could. I'm just curious. I knew it was going to be,
I wondered about if it was a lease arrangement, and I'm just wondering, curious if we have a pilot or if it's a taxable property.
The way I would answer that today is that because it's a mid-state board of directors decision, there's been no decision made on either a pilot or maintaining it as a taxable property. But I could assure you that our board will be talking about this because we do own other parcels of other properties in town, and the board is very sensitive to that.
Great. Well, thank you. I appreciate that.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Mhm.
Good point. Okay, that's good. Thank you very much, sir. You're all
Hey,
set.
Thank you all very much.
Good
Take
luck.
care.
Okay, so we'll move on to the rules on the protocols for the zoning board. Rules of procedures. I don't know, did anybody get to read these?
I did, actually,
You did?
yeah.
Oh. Okay,
So
Want me to
one of the questions that I had about the rules was that it states in there that for a quorum, you have to have 3 members, where I think right now, don't we do 4 members to have a quorum?
No,
No, it's 3 to have.
3 is a quorum.
Yep.
We have to recite if there's less than 5, that people have a choice to go forward.
Okay,
You want a little background on this, Tom?
sure, go ahead, would you summarize it?
So I was just, going through some files, sort of trying to clean up a little, or just catch up on where things are. And we couldn't find a properly adopted, stated, rules of procedure for the board. We found a copy. Patrice found something else in her files. But anyways, I just felt like we should have doesn't seem to be a date on it of when it was adopted. And so I think you have rules of procedure, but the Office of Strategic Initiatives, they just came out with their new handbook. So I took that version, compared it to what we think might be the existing version, and tried to merge them together. I sent that out to you late this afternoon, so I apologize for not getting it done prior to the meeting. And what it does say in there, that you're supposed to discuss it at a meeting and then adopt it at the next. So you can't necessarily adopt it tonight. So if there's changes that you have in there to look over, between now and whenever we meet again, then we can make some edits to it. But I think that it's basically following, I think, what you've had combined with a few newer updates, but there could be a few typos in there too that I missed, because it was my first sort of draft, is what you saw emailed to you this afternoon. So.
Did anybody else see anything in it there? David, any feedback from reading it through?
Yeah, I think we should fill in the blank on page A3 with the number 30 on item 1A.
What page? Gosh. I think my pages are off. I have page 1 of 7.
Oh, they're all the numbering's mixed up.
Oh, yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, that's okay.
Look at the top, the
Yeah.
header. I forgot to take it off the
Okay.
footer. That's
2, 3.
It
Well,
delineates
that's
the number
right.
of days for an appeal.
Are you looking at the version that I sent out this afternoon, or the,
I'm looking at the one that was online.
okay.
Oh,
Yeah, no, I sent out one this afternoon, David, that I filled in a few blanks, so you may not have the right one.
Probably not.
There was a little bit of a difference of that. And the one this afternoon, I apologize, I just realized there is don't look at the page, pagination at the bottom, look at it at the top of the page. That footer needs to come up.
Okay, so was that concern of his? Are we all set on that? That's
Um,
already been filled in? I can't
She
quite see where he
she
was.
thinks it does. Mr. Chairman, I would just say number 3 on the very first page under officers, what we have and what happened in the past was because we didn't have a town planner. I would just say the clerk shall be the town planner or his or her designee.
Okay.
Because
fine.
sometimes it used to be the town planner would go to the planning board and the code
Mhm.
enforcement would do zoning, and, she might need some flexibility there.
Patrice, did you want to add that to the end of that sentence?
I would just say, let's see, where,
Yeah, okay, so that's what you said it down. The clerk-
Just the first word says a clerk. I thought you were going to change it to the clerk.
the clerk,
I would
yeah.
say the clerk shall be the town
Town
planner or his or her designee.
That's smart.
Yep, I'd go along with that.
That's great, June, though, putting this together so quickly. Thank you.
So yeah, on page 5, bottom of page 5 talks about amendments, but it says "But rules of procedure shall be adopted or amended by a majority vote at a regular meeting, provided such new rules or amendments are proposed and discussed prior to the meeting at which the vote is taken. So this discussion should accommodate that, I believe. So,
Agreed.
and again, if once you have a chance to look at it more closely, I think that we can make additional amendments, when it's adopted with, because I don't suspect
next
anything
meeting.
substantial.
Okay, so we
What
could,
you're saying, June,
we
is
have
we can't adopt it tonight, is that right?
Pardon?
We cannot adopt these tonight then, is that correct?
Correct, right. It needs to be discussed at a meeting and then adopted at the next.
Okay.
Okay,
okay, so
so why don't we read it?
we discussed it and we're all set. Great. Anybody want to make a motion to adjourn or any other business?
That's always Stephanie's yank.
I would be welcoming the motion to adjourn.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Right.
Aye.